You have to fly in your mind, you have to be free in your mind to flow along this fretboard. You have to go past the boundaries of positions. Hi, welcome to Budo Guitar. This is the martial arts approach to guitar speed, and today we're gonna make a fretting hand fly. On the last episode of Guitar Do, we were looking at a picking hand, and we learned how to apply a fluid, speedy motion to it. In this episode, we will have a look at a fretting hand and see what we can do about it when it comes to playing fast. But before we start, I want to talk about a crucial point. The approach here is not just a demo of another technique, because there are enough videos and articles on technique out there. Now, I have a problem with all these do this technique for faster playing, do this for that, 5 tips for playing more fast, 5 tips for your picking hand, 7 ways to play faster. Those videos and articles, they bore me out. Those videos feed the illusion that outer technique is the solution to your guitar playing, but hardly so. In another video, I will talk about why setting blind faith in outer technique can be really tricky and is a real problem in my point of view. Now, this approach here is not just another technique, it's not just another movement that you have to learn. The approach here is more mental. It is more like Feldenkrais. Feldenkrais is a bit like yoga, but the approach is completely different. Feldenkrais was a Jewish doctor, I think, and he wrote many books, just like this one. It's called Consciousness Through Movement, or maybe Awareness Through Movement. The idea is that movement will change the person. If you change the movement of the person, you will change the person itself. But changing only the movement does not get the thing done. As the title says, you have to change the awareness, the consciousness of the movement. And this is the approach here when it comes to guitar playing and Guitar Do. But as I said, in another video there will be the space for all the spiritual talking. For the time being, let's flow. Now, there are 2 major problems when it comes to playing fast. One is more on the mental side and the other more on the physical side. And as always, we want to apply martial arts principles to guitar playing. And here are 2 principles that will solve the mental problem as well as the physical problem. Now, in order to solve the mental problem, we will see what Muhammad Ali can do for us. Now, he was a revolutionary boxer at his time. He was more like dancing in the ring. He was fast, he was mobile, he was completely the opposite of heavyweight boxing at his time, as the other boxers were mostly static. And his most famous quote is, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." And this is the state of mind that we want to apply for guitar playing and for the fretting hand in particular. Now, the problem with playing fast is that when it comes to playing fast, we tend to think in the positions that we've learned. And a major problem in this area is, of course, the pentatonic scale. Now, the pentatonic scale has the benefit of being in one position. There is one fret that gives you good orientation in your playing. And if you want to stick to the pentatonic scale, this is good and fine. But if you want to play something more wild and go beyond the boundaries of the pentatonic scale, those benefit of the one position that you're playing in becomes a limit. Especially when it comes to fast licks like the one you can see in the other screen, those thinking in positions really holds you back, as your mind is constantly concerned with the positions that you're playing in. But if you want to travel along the fretboard in a decent speed, those thinking in positions will make you really slow, as your mind always comes back to the question, oh my god, where's my hand now? Which is the position? But this is no good. We get so attached in our mind to the positions that we've learned. And this is like the heavyweight boxer standing static in the ring and facing the opponent. Ali was different. He was dancing, like a butterfly floating. And this is the idea when it comes to fretting. Now, those thinking in positions will give you a nice feeling of safety, because you always know where you are and what to do next and how to place your fingers. But you will get static in your mind. And if you want to fly along the fretboard, you have to give up this safety. You have to learn to let go of this safety. It's the leap of faith to become flowing. Like Peter Pan, you have to get this feeling in your heart, and then you will fly. You must not get attached to pentatonic positions or scale positions. Make yourself free of these limitations. As you can see in some of the footage, the left hand is really stuck in certain positions. If you take the solo of Nothing Else Matters, it's all this pentatonic position. It works good for this solo, but if you want to do other things, this position is really limiting. Attachment is one of the major sins in Buddhism, as attachment strengthens your ego mind when it gets attached to things or thoughts about itself. It identifies with things and thoughts, opinions, beliefs. And those beliefs will hold you back, like thinking in positions in guitar playing. If you get stuck on positions, you will always only think in those positions. But how do we practice flowing along the fretboard? It's a good question. The answer is already there. As I said, don't hang on, don't get attached. Once your finger hit the note it had to play, move it along, move it further. Don't think of one position that you have to play in. Think of your fingers as moving like Ali, never getting attached, never getting stuck in one position. A good way to practice this flowing motion is to apply principle of Systema, the Russian martial art. And this is the solution for problem number 2, which is more on the physical side. In Systema, there is no stiffness, no tension. It is all about relaxing those muscles and getting along with pressure and movement. Don't force yourself to anything and don't push yourself against a pressure that comes. Always go with the flow. This is a crucial point that I talked about in the first episode of Guitar Do, as we don't want to use muscle power, strength or tension to increase speed. And this idea comes from Systema, where it's all about relaxing. Now, what's the deal with relaxation in Systema? How do they get that done? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, relax yourself, let go of the tension. How do they do it? By breathing. That's the key. It may sound a bit too simple, but breathing can be a tricky thing. Have you ever tried to just watch yourself breathing without consciously doing it. Breathing is the key. And the goal is to have a constant, fluid way of breathing. There's no harshness, no tension. It's not like you're working out or doing push-ups where you... I see many guitar players and students do this, and I used to do it too, and sometimes I fall back into this pattern of tension. And my face gets this harsh expression, and my jaws are really clenched. But this won't get you anywhere, except to the doctor as you get a headache when you push yourself so far. A good way to practice fast licks and flowing through the licks is to breathe with them. You don't force yourself playing each note very hard, but you try to play with your breathing. You breathe out. A good and a fast lick is always like breathing out. It's one constant long breath. Never stopping. When breathing out constantly, you don't stop. And this has to be your playing technique too. As I said, it's more a mental thing. But this breathing can solve the physical problems. It can push you past the boundary of getting stuck in positions. So breathe calmly. And use, when fretting, as little pressure as possible. As the more pressure you apply to the fretboard, the more you have to pull your finger back. The more pressure you have to reduce. So try to do it as light as possible, like a cat walking along the fretboard very, very lightly. As I said, it's more like flying. It's not stepping, it's flying. This is one of the magic things when we watch fast players like Yngwie Malmsteen or Paul Gilbert. When they fly along the fretboard, we see it, but we hardly believe it. It really looks like they're flying, like Peter Pan with this uplifting thought and feeling in his heart. And I believe this is one of the reasons why I consider guitar playing a spiritual practice. As watching them flying along the fretboard is mirrored on the mental side too. You have to fly in your mind, you have to be free in your mind to flow along this fretboard. You have to go past the boundaries of positions and scales